Hello to all you lovely flossy friends who live in my phone, and welcome to Flosstube number 14. I hope this finds you all well and happy and that life is being kind to you. Today is Monday the 17th of November. I'm not sure what time it is. Somewhere coming up for 6, I think. This is my second attempt at this. I will explain why as we go on. But for now, I'm just really happy to be here with you. I should have tried recording a couple of days ago. That was the plan. But life is what happens when you're busy making plans. So here we are on Monday instead. If this is your first time visiting, welcome. I hope you find some things that you enjoy and that you like spending some time hanging out with me in my little cosy stitchy corner of Scotland and of YouTube. And for those of you who are returning friends, welcome back. I am delighted to have you here again. I hope by now you know how much it means to me. Some of my very favourite people on this planet are people that I have met through my phone doing Flosstube. And it never ceases to make me feel humble and very grateful for your friendship and your support and your returning visits. So thank you. So let's crack on to attempt number 2. Same thing happened. I was 52 minutes and 21 seconds into recording this Flosstube, and my phone stopped because my storage was full. I'd almost finished. I'd almost finished the stitching. I didn't have a huge amount of time. There's still to go. It's my own fault. I forgot to delete YouTube Studio, the app, from my phone. It, for some reason, steals storage space. And I forgot. And because of the other tech problems I have trying to get things off my phone, I thought, and because last time I posted in 2 parts, it was a disaster. Most people didn't come and see the second part, and that's where I shouted out the people who had razzled my berries, and I felt like I'd let them down, and don't want to do that again. I thought, no, just reset, restart. There has been a silver lining. There's always a silver lining, even if you have to dig to find it. When I recorded this first time round, I mentioned that I was being tortured. Ailey has the day off today, so she got it into her head earlier that she felt like being a little girl and making chocolate crispy cakes. But we'd run out of gluten-free chocolate crispies, which she makes. I'm celiac. The rest of the family aren't, but I am. So she wanted to make them with gluten-free so that I could eat them. So she would go and get some gluten-free Rice Krispies, and when she was there, she kind of got it into her head that she was just in a baking mood, full stop. So when I was recording this the first time, the smell of lemon drizzle loaf baking was torture. Exquisite torture, but torture nonetheless. So when I told her that I had to restart, bless her, she came up with a chocolate crispy cake for me and a slice of lemon drizzle for us to taste test, quality control, to share it. So I got a very indulgent sweet treat. The loaf was beautiful. She makes a really good lemon drizzle. So yes, I have the potential to feel slightly sick and in sugar shock now, but it was worth it. And yeah, I'm just sad that I'm having to do this again because there's so much prep that goes into getting ready for a Flosstube, or certainly the way I do it, and then having to redo it. I'm not getting to spend time with her, and I would quite like having her home. That being said, we are home alone properly. Bruce even flew up to Shetland last Monday for work, and he's still there. He won't be back until later in this week, so we are proper home alone. So we are planning a indulgent girly night, curling up cosy in front of the TV with a schmaltzy Christmas movie on as we stitch together. That's our evening ahead, so I'm very, very much looking forward to that, and that's what's keeping me sane at this point. So we'll get cracked on. I apologise in advance if I forget something, because I'm now going to have to try and think, what did I say last time? What am I imagining I said? Did I really say that? Yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So, fair bit of stitching to show you today. So far this month I have worked on 15 pieces, although I only have 14 here to show you because one of them is a secret stitch that I really need to get a lot of work done on. I started it back in March, thinking I had all the time in the world, and so did lots of stitching and other things. Started Flosstube, started all the stitching, but, you know, got carried away, enthusiastic, and thought I've got plenty of time to come back to it. And now I'm thinking, actually, by the time it needs to go and be framed, I need to be getting a wriggle, because I have thousands of stitches still to put in this. So I've been kind of like chipping away at bits of it. So I've done a fair bit over the last few days, but unfortunately I can't show that. It'll be well into next year before you get to see that, because I can only stitch on it at certain times. So 14 pieces to show you today, one which is a finish. In theory I've got 15 pieces because I've got another kind of sidekick with it, but in theory, in reality, I have 14 pieces, one finish, 6 darts and 7 whips, 2 of which are Sal's. So we will crack on to that. Before we do, I am just going to mention, in case any of you are eagle-eyed, Pedro has a friend. In fact, he has 2 friends. I shall bring them down and you can meet them. Now, those of you who've been here before will know that I got Pedro, it was a few months ago now, I think. The Flosstube that I had puddock, which is a Scottish word for frog, as my Scottish word of the day. And I got Pedro here to act as a deterrent, that he was going to be the frog of the house, and he was going to be territorial, and he was going to see off all the other frogs, and it was going to be a frog-free zone other than him. The reality, however, has been the complete opposite. Pedro is a complete and utter tart. He is a flirt, and he actively invites frogs into the house. So the amount of frogging has not necessarily improved, because he's just such a social little character that, yeah, all the frogs want to come and see him. So with that in mind, Pedro's little cousin, Santa Puddock, has come to stay, because it's that time of year and he was doing the rounds and I couldn't resist him. So in addition to Pedro, I'm going to pop him out of the way safe. We have Santa Puddock. Again, puddock is the name for frog, the Scottish word for it. So yeah, he hopefully will not invite twice as many frogs into the house, although there has been a fair amount of frogging done the first couple of weeks of this month so far already. But that's him. As you can see, he's got a sparkly tummy which is shedding glitter all over my desk, but he is here for the holidays. And I have another very special frog. Most of you will have seen this little guy before, but I just got him in the last couple of weeks, and that's Rippet, the Primrose Cottage needleminder frog. Very, very appropriate for the last couple of weeks. And this is a present from a very, very lovely lady, a very sweet dear friend, Sharon, who, she's from Georgia, but she's across in the UK at the moment. She comes across kind of end of October every year to teach a class, and then turns it into an extended vacation. And she knew that I'd been quite fancying this little guy. I'd mentioned him in a Flosstube months ago, and she decided that she would take him across as a gift for me. So he is very, very precious. Thank you ever so much, Sharon. You are so thoughtful and kind, and I shall think of you every time I see him, and when I'm frogging, and having that will maybe make Frogan a little bit less painful, a little bit sweeter. I will take him out of his package and use him. I just kept him in there just now to show everybody today, but I am absolutely delighted you are such a thoughtful person. I would say pretty much everybody I have met through Flosstube is. I've made some lovely friends. There's some really, really kind people out there. It's a wonderful community. So let's crack on with the stitching. As I said, I've got 14 things / 15 to show you today. That will make more sense in a few minutes. So I'm going to start off with that finish, which is not very seasonal kind of finish for this time of year, but it's this one. It's Botanical Bee. I'm trying to think, I've got notes here and I've got them all in the wrong order because I'm completely thrown off kilter with having to reset and start again. So here we go. Botanical Bee by Hands On Design on 32 count even weave from Fibre on a Whim. It's called Blueberry, and it's not showing there, but it's a kind of purple and blue. You're getting a little bit more of the purple coming through there. It's a beautiful colour. So I have finished that one, and now, as I said, this is when I started in August, and I started Ladybug Picnic at the same time. Finished Ladybug Picnic and hadn't finished this one. But this chart, both of them are being sent. They're currently on the way. They went in the post this morning to a friend who is going to stitch them. So I wanted to get this finished so that I could get that sent to her. So this is where I'm saying I've got a 15th bit. This is its friend. I'll try and get them in. I can't peeking through. The two of them there. So they're both stitched on the same fabric, although this one looks kind of darker than this one, which is really bizarre because they're from the same cut of fabric. Both stitched with the called for DMCs. I didn't see any great need to use the overdyed for these. The DMC is fine. I think I might have changed one of them on this just to use the same one as this, the same tones, and I did. I have used an overdyed here for the bee skeps. I can't for the life of me remember what it is. It's just one I had kicking around because I decided that skeps always look better in a overdyed, so you get that natural colour changes that you have for them. So that's this one. Now I did add a tiny little bit on the Ladybird Picnic just to round out the bottom, and when I've done the same here, because the actual chart takes it to there and it's a straight across bottom, but obviously it's a circular finish, and they both could be finished to be a pair, and I have enough fabric left in the hope that we get a third one. Hint hint, please a third one for the set. So I wasn't convinced about having that flat crossbone, so I just popped a little bee in just to fill in a little bit that space, just to break it up visually. So yeah, that's that finished. The chart is already skipping its way overseas, and now I just need to get those FFO'd. I've got an idea of what I'm doing with them, but Bruce is kind of like playing with some bits of wood for me, cutting wood, and he doesn't have a huge amount of time to do it. He's away a reasonable amount, and also he cuts wood out in the garage with the door open, and the weather has turned a little bit colder, and I wouldn't want him out there getting cold paws doing it. So that might be a few months before we get those FFO'd, but it'll happen when it happens. They'll be safe until then. So that is my finish for this month. So I have 6 new starts because you know me, I cannot resist a start. Like Pedro, I'm a little bit of a hussy, bit of a tart. Tart for a start. But I've just got so many things I want to stitch. So if you saw my video at the start of November, which was recapping October, you might have heard me mentioning that this month I was having a theme kind of month of Scottish stitching. So off these new starts, 3 of those have a Scottish theme. 2 are parts of sets that I'm working on, and the other one was completely unexpected and unplanned. and it's because I was enabled by a friend who was very naughty, but it's been worth it. So let's just get into it. So the first one I have got to show you, Crocette GoGo. The monthly stitch is the La Finestra del Tempo. And I'm on my last one. I'm stitching December down in the bottom corner there. The last one. Yeah, and it's a cutie. And it's probably a more straightforward stitch than a lot of the ones from previous months. This one doesn't seem as bitty, so while I'm not as far as along as I could be, I'm not remotely stressed about getting this one finished. It will happen. It has to happen because I use these at the moment for my month markers on Instagram. For those of you who don't know me, I am Ditsy Daisy Crafts over on Instagram as well as here. So yeah, so this needs to be FFO'd and up on the 1st of December. This goes on a board, it just has magnets on the back of it when it'll be finished, and they just swap out monthly. So yeah, and I am loving this one. It's got that very traditional Nordic kind of feel to it, the traditional colours. There's a wonderful bear to go here. There's a gingerbread man, there's a Christmas pudding, and there's a candy cane. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to stitching on this later in this month, but at the same time it's a bit bittersweet because yeah, that's the last one of the 12 done, and I'll be sad to not have them. I'm humming and hawing about having a monthly stitch next year. I hadn't planned on it because my intention is I'm going to be stitching, starting in January, the Drawn Threads Butterfly Garden, and there are 12 sections in that, so that would make sense for one a month, and that had been my plan for 2026's monthly stitching. But there are some other sets, monthly sets, that I really like, and I'm really tempted. And as we've already said, I am a tart for a start. So never say never. At the moment, it isn't in the plans. But as you will find out very, very shortly, I have the breaking strain of a Kit Kat and I'm very easily led. So let's get into those new starts. And the first one is one that I've mentioned a few times up till now. I've been so excited to start with this one, going back to July when I very first saw it when it was first released. And that's this beautiful, beautiful stitch. This is Owl Forest Embroidery. It is called Bumblebee Noon. So you've got lots of bumblebees in amongst those thistles, and it's just glorious. Now Ellie from Stitch and Bee, she saw this at the same time as I did, and we both fell head over heels in love with it and decided that we would stitch it together. And we were talking about when we would start. Ellie was fancying getting the Owl Forest flosses for it. So she did that. She ended up putting in a bulk order with lots of other people who are stitching other Owl Forest things to spread out the cost of the carriage, because it's not cheap. So they take a long time to arrive. So it's like, okay, well, we'll push the start date back. And I had suggested November because it's quite Scottish, you know, we've got a castle in the middle and everything. Maybe November for St Andrew's Day. We celebrate St Andrew's Day here on the 30th of November, the patron saint of Scotland. So that's what we decided we would do. It has since grown arms and legs, and it has become an Owl Forest embroidery sal on a wider scheme. The hashtag is Owl Around the World Sal. We've now got a chat group on Instagram with lots and lots and lots of people, really active group, really supportive, encouraging group, with people stitching all sorts of different charts. There's a huge variety of different charts. And it's just fabulous to see. It's an absolute joy. So this had been my plan for it. Ellie is stitching hers on a dark blue, which is something I had considered. Hers is for a very specific reason, and I didn't want to do the same and kind of steal her thunder. That doesn't seem fair. So I went in a different direction with my fabric, and this is it here. And it's not showing up particularly well. This is, picture this plus, it's a 32 count even weave, and it's called Sprite, and it is beautiful, beautiful fabric, which is just washing out here. It's not showing well at all, and it doesn't photograph well either. I tried putting photos on our group chats, and it just does not photograph well. It's a beautiful pinky lilac with just the right amount of mottling. It's delicate, but it's not as delicate as is coming across here. It's got a little bit more. It just does not want to read properly there at all. But it's gorgeous, and I'm delighted with how it's coming out. Now, if I take you back and show you this, I have started in the middle, and I have done kind of like going across to here, or that way, I think. There we go. Yeah, I've got a slice going down there, if that makes sense. And I'm just loving it. I'll just one more thread. I've put into this 1,325 stitches so far, which is 10.61%. I haven't decided if I'm doing the castle in the middle. Not decided about that yet, but I love it. I've done my own choice of floss. I've just gone some over dyes. I find the Owl Forest a little bit too variegated for me. I wanted something a little bit more subtle and soft, so I just guessed, and so far it's worked out okay. I was a little bit worried. The only one that isn't a fancy floss is B5200 for the wings and the bumble bums on those lovely fluffy bumblebees, and I was a little concerned that they wouldn't pop. They're not as bright as I would have liked, but you can see them. Those bumblebees have bumble bums. All is well. But other than that, I'm really happy with the colours, and I'm happy with it full stop. I am really looking forward to working on this over the next few weeks and months. Yeah, I think eventually it'll probably end up framed, that one. I haven't decided whether I want that castle in the middle or not yet, or if I want to do something different, but I don't know what. So that's my first new start. That was on the 1st of the month. That was planned, starting for the Owl Forest embroidery, stitch along with Ellie. So when we were talking about it, and we'd set up the chat group on Instagram. If you're interested in joining us, please do. It's very informal. It's a start along as much as a stitch along. Feel free to jump in at any point, whether you're starting an Owl Forest or whether you already have one on the go. Everybody is welcome. I'll put all the details down below in the notes, as always. And Ellie will be able to add you on to the chat group, which, as I said, is lovely, friendly, supportive, with all sorts of things going on there. So that first morning, we were all chatting about it, and my friend Kerry is taking part. Kerry from Colourfully Cross Stitch, and she is stitching a chart that I had. I've already got a few Owl Forests sitting on PDF, and I had this one, and I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. And I kind of said to her, I said, I could be really tarted. I'm back to being a start tart. Be really tempted to start it with you. I said, but I'm already doing Bumblebee Noon. And she's like, oh, one more wouldn't hurt. You know, just a cheeky little one. You could start another one. I'm like, no, can't possibly. So that was in the morning, and it just bounced around my head, and it wouldn't go away. And I was like, no, I'm meant to be trying to cut down on the number of new starts. And other lies we tell ourselves. No, you just can't. And then it got to kind of like late afternoon, and I'm like, what would I have in that I could use? So I started trying to kit it up, and I came up with something. And it's not the same Some of my colours are different. I didn't have DMCs that I was happy with, but I managed to pull together, excuse me, I've got a scratchy throat, probably because I've had to do this twice. Yeah, I managed to pull together enough overdyed from the kind of reasonably limited supply that I've got to make it work. Some of them are different. Some of them, my blues are a lot darker than the ones that are here in the chart. And I did change one of the blues out, so I did frog a bit. I'm not good at telling with overdyes how well they're going to work together when they're next to you in their hand. Putting them next to each other, it looked like they would work fine. When they were stitched up, you couldn't really tell the difference between them, and it wasn't making me happy. So I changed one of those out and redid a bit, and I did the same with the green. I changed one of the greens because I wasn't happy with it. So some of it has been stitched a couple of times, but this is my progress so far. As you can see, my blues are a fair bit darker, but they're okay. They're just not quite as bright. So yeah, this is where I have got 1,369 stitches into this so far. I loved stitching those. I am 22.82% into this one, so I've made a reasonable amount of progress. This is the halfway mark here where those greens change. You go from one border into the next, and then this is the halfway here. So I've obviously not finished a quarter. I think the half is possibly slightly up. But I've made reasonable progress. The whites aren't the poppiest on there, but they're okay for now. And like these little bits in here, if I'm not convinced by them, I'll take them out and put them in a different colour. But that is where we are at. Fabric is 32 count, picture this plus, in Mercedes, which is a gorgeous fabric. It's a kind of bluey grey. It's a brighter blue than you're seeing there. Again, the lighting just does not pick it up and do it justice. It's a lovely bit of fabric, and it's just perfect for this. So yeah, I had enough, and I didn't have an excuse not to start. So oops, an unexpected start enabled by the lovely Kerry. I'm not feeling hard done to in the slightest. It's actually lovely to stitch along something with her. She's an absolute sweetheart. So yeah, next stitch. This was a planned one. Next start was a planned one. This is actually a kit. This is it here. It is called A Piece of the Sea. Excuse me, and it is MP Studia is the company it's from, which you wouldn't really get from that. But it is a kit, and I am using the contents of the kit apart from the fabric. It came with a 14 count Ada, and when I started stitching, it was just too sparse. The 2/1, it was still a bit see-through. I wasn't happy with it, so I had some 16 kicking around, so I swapped to that instead. And that's what I've got. And it's very intense colours. Again, they're not coming out hugely well on there. But there's kind of a mix of purples and blues in those thistles, and a really dark mouse with almost day glow ears. But I'm hoping that it will all come together, and it will make sense, and those colours will work. Like I say, they're not coming across well on camera either, which is not helping. And obviously I've still got a huge amount. I've got only one green, which I haven't finished. There's still a lot more to come down here. And then we've got more thistles down into this corner, and greenery, obvious. So it's still reasonably early days. I've got 13.29% in that, which is only 775 stitches. Felt like quite slow 775 stitches. But yeah, I shall push on that one. If I come back here to the picture on the front of the chart, it's a lovely clear chart, apart from the fact that there's like loads of back stitch all over it, which makes it look confusing. There's about 3 different colours of print for different colours of back stitch. So yeah, it does make the chart look a little bit but the only thing I would say is that Ailey and I are going to have a look at this and have a play. and rechart this ship here to be a Disney cruise liner, because that's our jam. And we want to make it more personal to us, obviously. So that is new start number 4. New start number 5 is, I did say, was part of a set I was had been working on. I've done one of these a month for the last couple of months. This is the 3rd one. This is Little House Needleworks, Fall on the Farm. This is number 3 in the set. I'm not doing them in the right order, but this just happened to be the one that came up this month. This is, what's it called? No Crows Allowed. Obviously we've got the scarecrow here. He still needs hair and a hat. And then there's no crows. Going to be written on that sign that he's holding. So yeah, that's how I'm getting on with it. This is what it's going to look like. Like I say, the scarecrow is going to have a hat. I've got 5 out of the 6 corn stalks in. I've got 1 still to do, and then the corn on the top. I finished the pumpkin, and I've got some crows to do. They're obviously illiterate crows that cannot read the sign that says no crows allowed, because they're just ignoring it. One is even sitting on the scarecrow's hand, and the border. So yeah, hoping to have this one finished before the end of the month. It won't be FFO'd because I'm saving them all and doing them all together. But yeah, I said I missed the last time when I showed you last month's finish. Each of these charts has a little poem or a little bit of prose written at the bottom, and I'd forgotten to have the chart with me to tell you what last month said. But this month's is from Helen Keller, and it says, "The hillsides gleam with golden corn, apple and peach trees bend beneath the burden of their golden fruit. The goldenrods too are here, whole armies of them, with waving plumes resplendent with gold." So that's that one. That's the 3rd one in the set of 9. No crows allowed. Now, my last new start. Been planning this one for a while. Looking forward to it. Oh, this has nearly been a frisbee so many times. I have been demented with this, absolutely demented, and it may still be a frisbee yet. It's absolutely on my last nerve and its last chance. I'm not enjoying this one so far. The stitch itself is from this book, which is Let's Travel from Durene Jones, and it's a fabulous book. There are some gorgeous charts in here. I'm sure there are somewhere on YouTube there'll be a flip through of this. But if I just give you an idea, it's got like little thumb marks off them all at the start. So you'll see there's a huge variety of styles, locations, you know, be it a local beach, a tropical beach. There's some quite bold graphic styles. There's some that are a lot more realistic. We've got cities, we've got countryside, florals, different shapes. There's lots of bookmarks as well. You know, there's loads of really nice charts in here. And the book itself was only $9.99. So considering the price of a chart these days, that's phenomenally good value. So I had bought this book purely because I liked this one chart. And that's it there. It's that Highland Scene. None of these have names, but I'm kind of calling it a Highland Scene, where you've got 3 Highland coos, stringies we call them in our family, in a kind of typical Highland West Coast landscape setting. And you've got heather at the front as well, and then a loch in the background. So very, very typical. I've seen that scene many a time on our travels around Scotland, and I just loved it. I thought it was beautiful, so I would start this. It's almost full coverage apart from the white up here at the top in the sky, that's left uncovered. So I decided I would stitch this on 16 count white Ada in the called for DMCs. Bob's your Uncle Fanny's your aunt, all is good. And then it came to actually, you know, kitting it and getting ready to start. And I realised that the chart doesn't work. I'll kind of show you from a distance So you've got an idea. So you can't really see the chart as such, but an idea. So the chart comes over 3 pages, and it's only really these circles that do that. So you've got the top kind of 2/3 of the circle split over 2 pages there, and then the rest comes like this. The 2 bottoms kind of split there. None of the lines match up on here, the graph paper, to these bits. This one fits the bottom of the other, of the top bit, and it also fits there. This, completely different dimensions. Absolutely different. Doesn't fit on there or there. Printed it out. Took a scan in the scanner, printed it out, cut it out, tried to put it together. Not making sense of this at all. I was getting really frustrated because I've got the fabric and the floss all, you know, it's kitted ready to go. And so I messaged Durene Jones herself on Facebook and on Insta. Those messages weren't read. Possibly they'd gone into, you know these messaging things, there's like another box that you have to actually physically go looking in. No luck. So I'm a member of a Durene Jones stitching page on Facebook. Now I'm very, very, very rarely on Facebook, so I'm not active. So I thought I'll try in there. Please, has anybody stitched this chart before? How did you get it to work? Nobody was able to help. They were really, really lovely and tried to be, you know, supportive and have you tried this, have you tried that? Durene Jones herself actually saw that, excuse me, and came on and said that she wasn't able to help because she didn't know what the publishers had done to her chart. So I thought, well, if the designer herself can't help, I'm kind of stuck. But she said there should be no overlap. And 3 of those 4 parts don't have an overlap, but that one that doesn't fit has 1 column of overlap and 3 rows. And because it's quite confetti heavy, trying to make sense of the pattern, it's kind of eye-boggling. So eventually I figured that out. But in the meantime, when you scan it, because it's in a book, you get like a distortion. So it doesn't go into markup nicely. So it's really hard to keep track of where you are with all those stitches, because obviously I don't want to scribble in the book, and I don't like working for a paper chart because obviously when it's all stuck together it's quite big. And the other thing is that, again, because there's no overlap, you're trying to work across different pages, and the chart doesn't go right up to each other, it's ever so slightly offset. So yeah, I had a lot of trouble doing that. I did one bit, there was a long row, and then it carried on to the other page. So I carried on, and then I did a whole load over here, and I had to frog it all because it turned out across that page join, that row stepped down one, but it didn't look like it. Much frustration. So I've got that in. I have no idea how many stitches are in there, but a lot of it has been in, out, shake it all about. There has been a lot of language, a lot of frustration, but I'm sticking with it. I will not give up yet. I'm too thrown to give up on it, for starters. But also I'd like the end result. And I was also worried about, if I find my way back to the book here, there's another round one I wanted to do as well. This one here, with the 2 robins who have already been named Wolf and Lambert, after my dad and his best pal Lambert. Yeah, when loved ones, when robins appear when loved ones are near. So that's Wolf and Lambert. And the snowman and that beautiful snowy scene, and yeah, it's just glorious. But then when I had the problems with this, I was like, what if that chart doesn't work either? It looks like it does. I'll still have that same frustrations. I need to maybe try again at scanning and seeing if I can get a better, flatter. I mean, I did push down on it, but so yeah, that was very frustrating. Was it Saturday I was doing that one? Yeah, it's not my favourite stitch. So anyway, let's move on from there. Let's move on to happier things. Let's move on to my whips. Some of which you have seen before, some of which you haven't, some you've seen recently, some it's been a little longer. So the first one we have got, I started this in August and I've shown you it, I think probably every time since. It's a Pigeon Coop design, and this is from his Etsy store. He has some fabulous, fabulous designs on there. I know the book is wonderful, but you know, go and have a look and see what he has online as well, because he has wonderful charts. I have lots and lots of these saved that I have bought on Etsy, and I've got the book. But I hadn't actually got around to stitching any of them, and then I started Atlantic Shore back in August, and this was August as well, and just loved them so much. Then I started and finished Fox and Butterfly in September, and my biggest problem with this is making myself put it down. My intention had been to stitch one of these little vignettes. It's the same scene at different times of the year, was to do these seasonally. So, you know, I would do summer and I would do autumn, and I would stitch it over the 3 months of autumn, you know, push it into a year. But they're so lovely to stitch that I struggle to stop myself. I could quite happily just crack on and do the whole thing. It's just so lovely to stitch. So this is where I am up to. So we've got summer here. I started in August, and this had to be finished by the start of autumn, which I think was at the 21st of September. So this is what I've done since then. The last time you saw this, I had the sky done and a little bit of the greenery, pretty much just this here, the kind of the hill. So this time I have put in the rest of the greenery, the rest of the land masses. So all this here, and then this beautiful autumn foliage down to the beach here. So now all I have left to do is fill in the river, just fill in that waterway, and that'll be it. And I'm like, but I can't start winter until at least the 21st of December. How am I going to make that last? So whether I succumb and do some more of that this month, or whether I'm well behaved and restrained and make it last until December, I don't know. We shall see. So anyway, moving on. My next one is this. This is Gathering Bright Blooms from Robin Pickens. I absolutely love this design. Fell in love with it when it came out at market at the start of the year. Was it February, March time? And got it immediately, and then saved it to use to start for Ailey's birthday start in June. And I love it. It's so bright. I like the geometry of it. Everything. It's gorgeous. It's my first Robin Pickens. So yes, I started that in June for Ailey's birthday. And it's kind of changed a bit. Maybe if I go back to this. So the last time you saw this, it's kind of got 3 rows with 4 flowers in each, and I had these 2 rows, the 4 flowers done, and no border. I think I had the dotted line in between, and that was that. So the 8 flowers, no border. Now we have border with only 7 flowers. I frogged this one. I'm loving what I'm stitching on. This is it's a 32 count, even weave I've dyed myself, and it's really dark, and it's really tight, and it's really easy to be half a stitch off, and that's what had happened. And I've got half a stitch off in other bits as well, but I can fudge those and make them look okay. But I wasn't happy. I wanted it spot on, so I have taken out the flowers and put in the border. So hopefully the next time you see this, those flowers will be back in. But I just love the bright cheerfulness of it. It's alien a stitch. It's gorgeous. It's vibrant. It's fun. It's happy. So speaking of Ailey, she has influence over not just lemon drizzle cake, but stitching, because she's still stitching away. She's kind of finding her taste and things that she likes now. So there's this. Before I show you it, I'll speak about it. If you saw my last video when I was talking about my plans for this month and how it was going to be a Scottish themed month, I mentioned that I had a stitch that I started almost a year ago. I kitted it up to stitch on the flight on the way to see Ailey when she was working in Disney last year when we were going to Florida. So something I would stitch on the flight. So it was Ada to make life easier. And it's quite solid, blocky kind of stitching. Thinking it would be a good plain stitch for, you know, a reasonably long flight. Is it about 11 hours, something like that? About half 10, 11 hours. But then I didn't like stitching it. So I had said last time that I would take this out and I would have a think about it, and it might be UFO'd. I might work on it. Chances are I probably wouldn't. So I took it out and I showed it to Ailey and she went, "Oh, I really like that." So I'm stitching it. So this is it here. It's quite a graphic thistle. So we've got two of these kind of bluey purples, two pinky purples, and then there's three greens. Kind of like doing an ombre up. And it's the same on this side. There's a thistle stalk going here. I can actually show you a picture of it. I have one on my iPad. So this is, because I haven't got a picture, the chart doesn't come with a picture. So this, I bought it from Etsy. And that is it. Now I think it's AIAI is the name of the shop. Or that's what's on here. It probably is an AI design. But I haven't seen it as being a copy from anything else, and I liked it, so I bought it. And that is it. So I am not stitching the impunity line or the Celtic knot banner underneath. I'm just doing the thistle itself. So yeah, that's how it's going to end up. And as you can see, it's symmetrical. And I'm almost halfway there. Where am I? What am I at? Did I make a note? Oh, I'm over halfway there. I'm 51.7%. So this is where I'm at. So yeah, I just need to finish this leaves, and then I can put in the flower here, which isn't as big as this one, and then do the same on the other side, because it's symmetrical. The fabric I'm not sure either. I thought, oh, what am I going to stitch on? So I had some 16 count Ada kicking about, and I thought, oh, just knocked something on my foot, sorry. I'll dye that green. Now I'm a bit heavy-handed when it comes to the dyes. A lot of my fabrics are quite intense, and it came out too green. I wasn't keen. So I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to try dunking it in a weak bleach solution and see what happens. So this is what I came out with, and it's actually coming out reasonably well there. Every now and then I think I catch a glimpse of, you know how sometimes when you bleach something it's got kind of a beigey yellowy tone to it. Sometimes it's not a bright white necessarily, and sometimes I kind of get feeling like there's like just a tint of that to it. But actually when I see it, I think I'm just imagining. I think I'm expecting it to be there rather than actually being there. So it's light. It's almost like a pepperminty green, and it works really nice. Like I say, there's only 7 colours of thread in there, and it goes quite nicely. So I'm stitching it. It's not getting UFO'd. I've not UFO'd a piece in my life yet, and it's not going to be the first. I say, no rush to get it done. It might be Scottish month next year. That one next comes out. I'll maybe get a little bit more on it yet. But it is staying live. So next one I've got to show you is Olivia Ochre-leaf, Silver Creek Samplers. I don't know why, when I first saw this one, probably over a year ago, it spoke to me. Don't know why, just something about it just called to me. So I gave in and got it. And I started this back in September when I was doing a fair bit of autumn stitching. I'm stitching on a 14 count Rustico Ada. Deliberate choice because it's the same kind of size and colours as another piece I stitched last year, a Cherry Hill Stitchery one, on the same fabric, and they're going to be finished exactly the same way and displayed next to each other, so I wanted continuity across the two of them, and that worked fine. So, but using the Rustico, I don't have a note of what the sample is on there because I've just got the front cover page with me here. It's quite pale. The Rustico's a little bit darker in colour, and that has definitely fed into some design choices for colours. So this is where I'm at. Last time you saw this, I had bits of these words in different colours. I'm stitching with the Called For overdyed. It's a mix of Weeks and Classic Colourworks. And I can't remember which is. I think it's Weeks. Dove is what was called for the text. So I stitched it, but on this Rustico, it just kind of blended into the, couldn't really see it. And I wasn't convinced by it. So I looked at the DMC conversion and thought, right, I'll try that. And then I thought, I'm going to go a shade darker. I dug out my DMC shade chart and I thought, right, okay, I'll try a shade darker as well. It won't do any harm to have it in my stash. So the last time you saw this, I had words in all 3 stitches and kind of like opened up a conversation about what you think. And the unanimous kind of, well, not unanimous, I mean, there was a couple of other opinions, but the majority of people said go for the darker one. And I'm really glad I did. So since you last saw this, I have frogged all that text out. Sorry, I keep knocking something with my feet. Frogged all that out and restitched with that DMC. I've added in this bit here, and now that I've got the orange in, I'm really glad that I went for the darker one. I might, when I go down, I don't know if you can see there, it mentions frost and snow. I might do those in a paler one. We'll see. Excuse me. But for now, I think my next focus needs to be filling in the foliage that runs across here and then starting on that skirt. There's a lot of bitty stop and start stitching. I don't mind stitching text. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. So I think I maybe need to alternate and try and get some of this done. So that I'm not left with doing all the bitty bits at the very end. Again, I'm in no rush for that one at all. As long as it's done by August, jobs are good and I'm quite happy with that. So the last of my whips, again, this was a September start, and this is it here. This is Modern Folk Embroidery, Real Comfort. It's a Jane Austen sampler. Now, if you've been here before, you'll know that I said that I wasn't planning on stitching anything below the village. I'm not doing any of the alphabets, and I'm also not putting in the Jane Austen along the top. I'm just doing the village and the tree and the text inside the tree. So the last time you saw this, I had managed to finish the village, and I have now started to move upwards into that tree. Now I'm stitching this on a 16 count Picture This Plus Ada called Rubius. I had looked for a red even weave that I liked, and I just couldn't find the one that was just the right colour for what I needed, and this ticked the box. So like I say, I've got a fair bit of Ada on the go this month, which is unusual for me, but I've thoroughly enjoyed stitching on it. And I'm stitching this with white sulky 12 weight, which is lovely. And I have to say, stitching those buildings was a joy. And I'm now loving stitching up this tree. Got to be a little bit more careful to count now because it's obviously not so graphic with very obvious symmetry and walls and things. But it's lovely to stitch, really enjoying it. So I now need to decide whether I want to start coming along this side of the tree to then go and meet around. Do I continue this one or do I start in on the text? And the text itself says, there is nothing like staying at home for real comfort, which is very much me these days. I would much rather be cozied up at home and out and about, not a party animal, a quiet soul these days. But I'm thinking I will possibly do some of that text first because it seems a good kind of marking spot to make sure that I'm even and that I'm not going wrong, especially because that tree is symmetrical. One stitch out and it's going to be so obvious. We'll see. For now I'm leaning towards the text, but when I next pick it up there's no guarantee that that's where my mood will take me. So that leaves us with two things still to look at, and they're both styles, stitch alongs. So the first one I've got here is Emerald City. This is another Owl Forest embroidery chart. I'm not using this for the Owl Around the World style though. This is a stitch along that was set up by Jen from Jen Stitchy Corner back in July. She set us up a Facebook group. I'll have all the details below. We might have been into it for a few months now, but that's nothing to stop you coming and joining our merry tribe. We've had a couple of people join just recently. You're all welcome and you can stitch at your own speed. Some people are doing it in different orders. It really doesn't matter, just as long as you're enjoying it. So this is a free chart, absolutely free, don't have to pay a penny for it. And it was originally a stitch along when it was released, which I think was back in 2019. And because it was a stitch along, they released it in 11 parts. So in theory, we started this in July, we should be finished it by June. And it comes with the parts broken down for you already. So for example, the first part is the house, the tornado, Dorothy and Toto, and then we've got the Good Witch of the North going along through the scarecrow and the corn. Next part, part 3, was the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion, and I've just finished part 4 here, which is the poppies and then the Queen of the Mice with 2 of her little mice. And yeah, and then the next 3 parts, because it's so big, are the Emerald City. And I don't like to boast. I'm on schedule. Shock horror, huh? This is where we're at. So it looks pretty boring there. There aren't huge pops of colour. There's a reason for that. I've left big emblems out. Like the top of the corn isn't in. There's an emblem in here. You know, the poppy isn't in. There's another one in here. I am going to go back and do those with beads. And I didn't want to stitch the beads on until I had done all the flat stitching. So that it would go easily into hoops, frames. I'm using a Q-snap for this, and obviously you don't want a Q-snap with beads. That's not a sensible plan at all. So while it's not the most exciting of colour schemes at the moment, it will have more pop by the time I finish. This here is kind of iridescent. It doesn't show up very well, which is a bit infuriating. The Tin Man, he is really, really metallic, but again, you can't see that there. And also the Queen's crown. Now, I don't want to show you the Queen too close because she's a little bit like she's been in an accident. And I am putting full blame for that squarely at the feet of Sally from Flossy Sews and Grows, because I was so busy enjoying her floss tube that I wasn't really paying as much attention to stitching as I should have been. So I stitched it and then I thought, oh, that doesn't work out right, that doesn't look right, and had to frog it and redo bits. And then I moved on to the next little mouse, and then I thought, still doesn't look right, and I realised I'd made a mistake, and at that point I thought I'm not going back and refrogging it all. So I kind of fudged it and made it look okay. You can't really see unless you look up close, but yeah, it does look a little bit like she has had an accident and she's a little bit distorted. So yeah, so that's part 4 done. Part 5 started, I think, was it last Monday? It was last week, certainly. So that's the start of the Emerald City. I have the whole way through, I should actually say, this is 28 count even weave. It's Picture This Plus in jade. You can't see the mottling so much in real life. It's really striking on the camera there, but it's not as bad in real life. I've chosen a 28 so that those beads sit nicely on it. And the floss, I'm making it up as I go along. I haven't got a clue what I'm using most of the time. Just what's to hand that works. Again, I didn't want to use the elf forests. They're just a bit too variegated for me, and the DMC conversions weren't doing it for me either. So I've just been playing with colours. It's been a fair way to kind of like start getting a few extra fancy flosses in my collection, because I'll order a few and then pick out what works best. So yeah, I'm kind of making up as I go along, but I don't love the colour of the Emerald City. I don't like that kind of like, it's so limey, chartreusey that it almost looks yellow, kind of like a really pale olive. That's not doing it for me. And also the way the colours of the green, there's 3 greens in it. I'm changing how they're laid down in different places. But I've made a start, so my 3 greens are there. You can't really tell the difference between them hugely, but there's the darkest here, and then this bit at the bottom is the mid green, and then the bit in the middle is the light green. Maybe as the whole thing kind of grows, you'll see that a little bit better. I want to try and get some more progress on it and get ahead of the game, because stitching all those beads on it is going to take a huge amount of time at the end. So I would quite like to get a head start so that I leave myself a couple of months to get that bit done. And the last one I have got for you, the last whip, is this. It's another Sal. This is from My Big Toe, Time to Stitch, the Serenity-ish Prayer. This I am doing for the Catkin and Lily Patreon, Anything Stitchy Sal, which again started back in July. The majority of people are doing the Primrose Cottage stitching rules, though there are lots of other charts being stitched as well. I think I'm the only one doing this one. And I've gone for a kind of different colourway. But yes, this is very much all of us. God grant me the ability to stitch the stash I have, to have the stash I want, and the time to stitch it all. I think that's all of us. So yes, as I said, this is over in the Catkin and Lily Patreon, which is a fabulous Patreon. I'm delighted to be a member of it. I'm not really a member of much in the way of Patreons, but I like that one. And this is where I'm at. So all I need to do now is that final border along the bottom, and this is done. So I would quite like to have this framed by the end of the year. I'll frame it myself. I'd like to have it done by the end of the year. Whether I can find a frame that works, I'm not sure in that time. But yeah, I'm almost there. All the text is done. It's on a 28 count even weave from Fabric Flair. What's it called? Grey Swirl. So it's kind of marbly looking. Looking at it now, I would have preferred the text to be a bit smaller. It's a little bit big and in your face. But yeah, that's okay. I'm happy enough with it. I like the colours I've used. I've completely done my own thing for colours, as I tend to do. The text is in 336, and the rest is just leftover bits that I haven't parted with, that I just pulled colours I liked. So that's all this month's stitching. 14/15 pieces. Yeah, the only thing that you won't have seen this month that you might have been thinking for a stitch along is Gathering Acorns. I haven't stitched on it this month. I'm still trying to decide what to do with the tail. I think when I was here a couple of weeks ago, I said about how phenomenal finish Tommy had on her tail, and I liked the way she did it. I'm still trying to decide. Martina, the German stitcher, she's kind of done the outline of hers, the tail, and it's actually really helpful because you look at it in a different way. So I think I'm just going to order some more floss and see if there's something that speaks to me, because it's an awkward colour balance between the body and the tail, and the bottom of the tail and the top of the tail, and it's had me stumped. So I could be stitching on the body, but at the moment everything I have left on the body is fill-in, so I thought that would be really handy to keep for the Jingle Ball, which is only in a couple of weeks, because I can sit and do fill-in and pay attention to what's going on around me without having to think too much about what I'm doing. So nothing on gathering acorns so far this month. Whether there's any later in the month, I'm not sure. You'll find out when I do. Well, maybe slightly after I do, but yeah. So what else have I got to tell you about today? So yeah, gathering acorn, obviously, it's a plan moving forward. I'd like to get some more work in on those 2 Owl Forest sals, because they're lovely to work on as much as anything else, and I haven't worked on them since the first few days of the month, so I'd like to get back and give them a little bit more love. Finish my La Finestra del Tempo for the December one by the end of the month, and my Full on the Farm, No Crows Allowed, I'd like those finished. Other than that, I'll play and I'll put some more stitches maybe in some of these whips, some of the others. I like having lots on the go to flip between. Especially this weather, I'm not out of the house as much, and I can happily work on 2, sometimes 3 different things in a day. And I'm a reasonably fast stitcher. So although I have lots on the go, I try and touch it regularly and make progress. I was hearing a really interesting conversation about how many whips people think is appropriate, and it was a live, so people were kind of commenting, and I wasn't live on it, I watched it afterwards, and there does seem to be a feeling almost of like less is more, people trying to cut their whips down. Like I say, I'm a bit of a hussy. I quite like having a lot. This time last year, I think I had maybe 6 or 7. I have significantly more than that now. I'm in the 50s, early 50s. But I have a distinction between everyday whips and seasonal whips, and I just don't think about the seasonal whips. And I've got lots more things planned to start, because I'm just eager to start them. And as I've said before, if you start something, it's closer to a finish. And also I find sometimes the starting of it is a bit of a big deal, and you can build up to it. But once it's started, it's much more accessible and easy to pick up and put a little bit more in, even if you just pick it up for half an hour and put it away again. I know that's not how everybody feels. I know a lot of people are actively trying to get their whips down, but I'm not stressing about mine. And as I said, I've got lots of things I would like to start. I now have Ailey trained to cross stitch, so if anything awful happens to me, they will go to a good home. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that people have different ideas, and there's almost a bit of snobbery too about looking down on people that have too many. She is a tart. Can any of you, the Brits out there, will remember a sitcom from the 80s here in the UK called Bread, and the matriarch of the family, her husband was having an affair. I can't remember the name of the other woman, but Ma Boswell would be, she is a tart, and that was her little cat. She is a tart. Well, I am a tart when it comes to stitching, because I want to stitch all the things all the time, and I don't think I'm doing anybody any harm by doing that, and I'm enjoying it. So with that in mind, plans for next year, I had kind of got an idea of what I wanted to do, and the reality is that that's no. Next year was going to be a year of towns and tears, but I've got all these other things I'm desperate to start as well, because I'm desperate to see them on my wall. So while I had planned on less starts. There still are going to be a few. There's not going to be necessarily so many finishes because I don't plan on working on as many smalls next year. I've been trying to get a fair amount of smalls done for decor, seasonal decor around the house. There's still a fair bit to finish there. But I don't have as many small projects. So there will be more being carried over over months rather than days or weeks. But yeah, it's going to be a busy year by what I'm thinking. I'm too scared to actually commit to writing a list. Even what I'm thinking of doing in January keeps growing. So yeah, that's kind of tentative plans. The only other blathers I've got to tell you, I've joined with Warriors. I'd heard Laura and Mary and lots of people talking about it. Katie, Jeremiah's mum. So I thought, oh, it sounds a big deal. I don't think I'll be able to manage that. I don't think I'll be able to manage that. And then I thought, actually, the amount I stitch, I should be able to manage that. So I decided to go for it. Previously, it's opened up for a short amount of joining in November. This year, they've opened it up that it's not just November. It's very much a participation required. It's a Facebook page. So I'm going to have to get better at trying to get on Facebook because I'm really not good at going on Facebook. I just don't. But I need to get better, and I need to get better at taking photos of before and afters of my stitching, making a note of stitch counts and all that kind of thing. So it's maybe going to make me be a little bit more disciplined and organised and on top of things rather than which I'm thinking. So yes, I've joined with Warriors. Completely confused with it all at the moment. It's a bit overwhelming, where to start, all these different things. But for newbies like me, it doesn't start properly until January, all the challenges. So there's a bit of space and time to find your way around. And because I have joined that, I also got the Whip Warriors. This is the larger one. There is a smaller one. Diary as well, because this it has calendars that shows you actually when there's events on. I've just added monthly tabs across the top to make it easier to find things. I haven't really started filling anything in with this. I will still have another planner on the go that does things that this one doesn't. I was designing one for myself, but I don't know that I'll bother now. I've got an 18-month planner on the go just now, so I'll maybe just continue using that and just see how it goes. If you do want to think about planners, whether it's the Stitcher's Almanac or the Book of Days or whatever, go and have a look at Sarah at Sew Me Sarah. She, in a Flosstube, talks all about different planners and her approach and what she likes and what she uses and what works and what doesn't and that kind of thing. Because I'd actually said to her, you know, I can't decide whether to go for the almanac or just do my own one, or because I'm several months into designing. I designed the whole thing a couple of years ago and then never printed it and used it. So now I need to obviously change the days around, which means changing the design around. And I kind of got 3 or 4 months into that, and then I'm just like, we'll see. I maybe won't. But for now, I've certainly got this to keep me right with all the different challenges that are happening over on Whip Warriors. And I'm excited to be part of that. I'm hoping it gets me invigorated to do lots of stitching, to jump around between things. There's some brilliant challenges, some that you work, you know, quite consistently on one thing, other where you jump around and do lots of different things. So yeah, it's changing up the whole time and making you think about the projects you've got on the go. So yeah, excited for that one. So that's kind of my only real stitchy gossip. For people who have razzled my berries, I am not getting a huge amount of time with Flosstube, and I have been enjoying actually trying to catch up with the people who are friends who I really enjoy watching regularly, and there's not enough hours in the day to watch them most of the time. So I haven't had as many new ones to watch. That being said, I do have a couple of new Flosstubers to mention to you today. First one is Ashley from Ashley X Stitches. As always, I will pop them down below. She's just posted her first Flosstube, and and she's got this fabulous stitch. She's got a Dachshund puppy called Frank, and she's doing, it's not photorealistic, but it's very realistic. A Dachshund, I don't know how people pronounce it. She's doing this stitch, and it's the image of little Frank, and it's fabulous. It's really, really cool. Thoroughly enjoyed seeing that. And my second new berry razzler is Leslie from Stitch with Leslie. No E on the end of Leslie, just Lesli. But it'll be down below for you. She's somebody who started cross stitching as a teenager, like a lot of us, but more recently she's been a quilter more so, but she's found her way back to cross stitch more recently due to an unfortunate series of circumstances, which has meant that cross stitch is going to work better for her for now than quilting is. But she'll tell you about that. She's had some health challenges, and I'll let her tell you about that if you go and find her channel. But she is thoroughly embracing being back cross stitching. She's kind of like gone from 0 to 60 and stitching all the things all the time. She shows us a huge selection of whips, all sorts of different things. And she's thoroughly embracing all the kind of the new things that are out there in the cross stitch world. So that's 2 new Flosstubers for you to go and watch and support and share this lovely community spirit that we all do so well. So who else did I want to mention just in passing? Jason. Lovely Jason from Jason X Stitches. Jason has just celebrated his first Stitchiversary, and that's Stitchiversary, not Flossiversary. It's been just over a year since he started cross stitching for the very first time. Now, those of you who've been here before know how much I adore Jason. He is a fabulous stitcher, a fabulous human. He's just adorable. I just love him to bits. He's one of the world's best humans. He's exactly what the world needs. But also as a stitcher, what he has accomplished in that year is phenomenal. From going from a complete newbie who'd never done it through his first charts, and he threw himself into it. You know, nothing was too big a challenge. And it's absolutely phenomenal, his journey in that time. His journey on Flosstube is wonderful as well. He is universally adored, rightly so, as it should be. He's a top bloke, but his stitching, to have achieved so much in such a short period of time, he's phenomenal. So big shout out to my mate Jason. I also wanted to give a shout out to my dear friend Tommy, because it's her birthday today. I would sing happy birthday to her, but that would be cruel, and she's far too nice a person to be subjected to my voice. So happy birthday, Tommy. I hope you have the most wonderful day and are made to feel loved and cherished the whole day through. You deserve to be treated like a queen, and I hope you are. And the only other one I wanted to mention is somebody who makes me feel like a complete troglodyte when it comes to videos doing this. And that's Emma from Rose Cottage Creates. She's such a lovely person. She's just the sweetest. But I need you all to go and watch her latest Flosstube. It's just gone up in the last few days. She was later getting it up than she wanted because she's been quite poorly as well. She was kind of needing her voice to come back as much as anything else. Now, I would imagine that a lot of you have visited with Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot, and you smile from the start of her videos because she has this wonderful song written and sung by her fabulous husband, this kind of real bluesy personalised song for Sarah's Stitchy Spot. It's fabulous. It always makes me happy, cheers me up instantly when I hear it. I know I'm in for a good time when I've heard that song. Well, our Emma now has a theme song too. She's introduced it in her video. It's fabulous. I have so much Flosstube envy for it. It's just brilliant. This is me who can't even get her phone to play the whole way through. But it's brilliant, Emma. It's absolutely genius. Well done to you and to your brother for putting it all together. Go and see it. It's awesome. And go and see her channel just because she is awesome and she does beautiful stitching. Embroidery as well as cross stitch. So yeah, that brings us to our Scottish word of the day, because I always do a Scottish word of the day for you. And today it's not so much a word as a phrase, with a few extra words. So the reason I came up with this one was I sent a message to Tommy the other day, and I just said, "Foo's your dues, Quine," knowing that she'd go, and she did. So question mark back, and I'm like, go and Google it. So I got a reply, "Pecking awa." Tommy understood the assignment. Foo's your dues is, it's not necessarily so much a Scottish thing, it's much more Doric, much more Aberdonian in origin. But it's, the literal translation would be, "How are your pigeons?" But it's used as a, "How are you?" So "Foo's your dues, Quine" is, "How are you doing, girl?" Pecking awa, or "I pecking awa, I'm doing fine." So that's where I decided I would do this one. "Foo's your dues, Quine." Very much a local northeast part of Scotland Doric phrase rather than a whole of Scotland, although it's maybe spread. Social media is really good for kind of like these things spreading into all sorts of corners of the world. So the second part of that I wanted to mention to you was, I said "Foo's your dues, Quine." And Quine is another Doric word. If you're thinking about boys and girls, men and women, in Scottish, I would imagine, think lads and lasses, or lads and lassies. I would say lads and lasses, as being the Scottish way of referring to, girls and boys. In Doric, it's loons and quines. So it'd be "Foo's your dues, loon, foo's your dues, quine." That's what you would use instead of lad or lasses. And again, that's kind of more peculiar to this northeast corner. But yes, a little bit of Google, and Tommy understood the assignment. "Foo's your dues, Quine, pecking awa. She's doing fine." So that is a few Scottish words this week, but you'll be able to use that in conversation and completely confuse the person that you're talking to when you're really just saying, "How are you? How are you doing?" I suppose the Scottish version that most people would think of that would be "fit like." Again, "How are you doing? Fit like." That would be traditionally the Scottish, but here, "Foo's your dues." By all accounts, I think going back, it's because there was a lot of pigeon keepers in Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire, and "Foo's your dues" was like, "How are your pigeons doing?" And if your pigeon are doing well, you're doing well, so how are you doing? So that's where that kind of comes from. Pigeon keeping in Aberdeen. There you go. "Foo's your dues." So that's kind of us for today. A little bit longer than I was expecting. But you know me, I can blether at Olympic level and do so regularly. I will be back start of December probably to do a catch-up of all the stitching that I have done throughout November. There are no new starts planned. But hopefully, as we've spent some time together today and I've shared what I've been stitching on, you've either liked the projects themselves, or you've liked what I've said about them, or my take on them, where my inspiration has come from, or you've just enjoyed having a blether. If you have, and you haven't already done so, please feel free to give me a like, to leave me a comment. I love your comments. I don't always get straight back to them in the first day or two. Sometimes it takes me a couple of days, but I will get there. I reply to everybody. And I love the friends that I have made through doing that. There are some wonderful people, supportive, encouraging, enabling people. I get lovely people sending me, "Oh, I've seen a raccoon pattern, I've got a trash panda pattern to tell you about." It's so lovely. I'm so lucky. So yes, feel free to like or leave a comment, and if so inclined, I would be delighted if you would like to subscribe to my wee channel. As I've said in previous ones, make like that Disco Diva Anita Ward and ring my bell, and you'll get notifications of when I post, which at the moment is normally twice a month, kind of mid-month and then an end of month catch up, which is normally at the start of the following month, so kind of first few days of the month and then the middle of the month. Might change that up in the new year. We'll see if Whip Warriors changes my way of stitching, might change my way of recording. I will do my best not to always have the same things to show you, so that you've got something different to look at. I can't remember which of the radio stations it is. With one of the families, I think it's maybe the Absolute Radios family. They have a no repeats guarantee between certain hours of the day, so that song will not be played again in that time period. I would kind of like to offer a no repeats guarantee if I start doing this more often, so that yeah, I'm sharing different things and keeping your interest as well as my own interest. But we shall see. I shall leave you for now. I'm sure you're all very, very busy because it's the start of the silly season. Christmas isn't all that long away. For our American friends, you've got Thanksgiving just round the corner. That's next week, if I remember rightly. And then we've got the Jingle Ball the week after it. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of stuff going on. I'm sure everybody's busy decorating houses and making plans and trying to arrange to see family and all that kind of stuff. So you don't need me blethering on any longer. I'm going to go downstairs, cook dinner with my baby girl, and then I might just have to have another little bit of lemon drizzle cake just to make sure that it actually is okay, that you know, my first reaction to it was right. And then I'm going to have a lovely evening with her stitching. I don't know what to stitch on. Woo! Exciting. In the meantime, until I catch up with you next, take really good care of yourself. Look after yourself. It's the season of bugs as much as anything else. So try to take care of your health. Don't burn the candle at both ends. All those boring grown-up things that we know we should be doing, that life doesn't necessarily want us to do. But take good care of yourself, and I will very much look forward to catching up with you again soon. Be good. Happy stitching.